Let's bring in Kevin Love, who joins us by FaceTime. And he asked Michelle Craske to join us, too. She's a professor of psychology and psychiatry at UCLA, where Kevin attended college. I just want to say, first of all, good morning to both of you. And Kevin, I mean, it's one of those famous kind of sayings. It's like the anecdotes of fear and pain are basically helping someone. That sort of makes you feel better. Well, you walk the walk, man. You gave $100 grand to help the folks who were affected by this around your arena. Tell me about the decision to do that.
Well, obviously it's been an incredibly stressful time for a number of people. The show just mentioned, a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck. So I felt, this is really the time to, especially for us NBA players, to walk the walk and be more than athletes. We see people in the community. We see people working in our arena at least 41 nights out of the year, us playing home games. So it was just a way for me to try and help navigate this incredibly stressful and anxiety-ridden time, to just, pay it forward and really help them. And, it's been tough, and, trying to just normalize this conversation around what's going on, and people are feeling a certain way about it. So I think it's more of a time for us to step up and be community leaders and do what's right for the people that are having a very stressful and tough time.
So, Kevin, in addition to this being a money thing, which you have done, this is also an anxiety thing, and it's something that you've publicly spoken about. And there are people at home who are watching you this moment on television who are feeling that feeling. They're feeling anxious, and maybe they're not affected directly by it, but they can feel it. So what would be, going through what you've gone through, your best advice for them?
I would just, Dr. Craske will talk about this, but she had a great saying yesterday that I hadn't heard, is that, social distancing doesn't mean, social or self-isolation. I think during those times you can feel incredibly hopeless. And I think that's at the root of all anxiety and depression, first and foremost. I think it's incredibly tough and not good for you to do, is just sit at home and just, be by yourself and not reach out to anybody. I think people are looking for that sense of community, the, feeling of being, kind of integrated into something bigger than themselves. So I think this is a great way to do it. Obviously, we're sitting here on FaceTime right now. People can do it virtually. I've been reaching out to, my friends, my family. Obviously, we've been distanced right now from, pretty much everybody else, or groups, smaller than 10 people. So it's really, really important to, be empathetic to that, continue to, just tell people what you're going through. I know it's a very stressful and anxiety-ridden time, like I mentioned, but nothing, I said last night, I did a message for PSA for the NBA, that nothing unites us like the common enemy. I think if we can attack this together, human beings can be extremely, extremely resilient, and we will get through it. But we need to stay connected and be together throughout this time. I think that's going to allow people to be a lot healthier in the long run.
I think you're right, Kevin. Dr. Craske, let's bring you in. A lot of families are, some people are alone, and some people are kind of shut in with their families. I think one thing that's happening a lot is people are getting news alerts when they're home, and they're like, "Oh, did you see? Oh no, Nordstrom closed." Like they're adding to the problem. Can you give us some simple ways that people can try to sort of lower the temperature and help ease anxiety in their homes?
Absolutely. And I would break it down into 4 simple steps. The first one is to recognize that it's completely natural and normal to feel anxious and worried in these kinds of stressful conditions, that whenever we think our health or the health of our family members is at risk, we're going to feel anxious. And whenever we're faced with the uncertainties of the level that we're facing right now, it's normal to feel anxious. So recognizing that shared experience, that we're all in this together and it is a stressful time. But the next steps are to how do we manage that stress? And the first one that Kevin already mentioned is to stay connected. And the reason for that is social connection and support is one of our most effective tools for managing stress and anxiety. So stay connected with your family and friends virtually, and there are lots of creative ways of doing that right now. And, it's easy to say those words, stay connected, but the action of staying connected actually carries a lot of weight. The second thing is to look at what you can control within this environment of uncertainty. So what are the things that you can do, and put those plans into action? Because when we feel control, that helps reduce the feeling of stress. So that might be, taking necessary actions to look after your health, connecting with the people that we've talked about, taking on activities, and particularly important there is managing your own physical stress response.
Yeah.
So doing what you need to do to slow down your stress reactivity through yoga or exercise or calm breathing or whatever it is.
Dr. Craske, thank you. Kevin Love, you're doing incredible stuff. You kind of set an example, and so many people have followed in your footsteps. They're also donating money. A lot of people, I'm sure, listening to you today. And somebody said this, and I like this too. If you're wondering what to do with your time, they said call people and ask them to tell you their story, and then tell them yours. So use your time wisely. Guys, thank you so much. Kevin, thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you, Dr. Craske. We appreciate you.